One of the most talked about and arbitrary metrics when it comes to e-bike performance has got to be battery range. There are a lot of factors that dictate range, like your rider weight, terrain, pedaling habits, what mode you ride in, and then of course, your battery size and motor power. But all of those factors aside, it can be hard to find cold hard stats on how long a battery will actually last out on the trail. So over the next 2 days, I'm gonna do some real world tests to see how far you can actually ride on a full size, full power e-bike. And then hopefully that'll provide some context on what kind of range you should expect if you're in the market for a new e-bike. So for this test, I'm gonna be using Specialized's latest Levo 4 e-bike. This thing comes with an 840 watt hour removable battery, and then they sell a 280 watt hour range extender that brings total battery capacity up to 1,120 watt hours. The battery is paired with Specialized's new 3.1 motor that produces 101 Newton meters of torque and 666 watts of peak power. There are 4 assist levels: Eco, Auto, Trail, and Turbo. You can adjust the assist profile of all 4 modes in Specialized's app, but for all the testing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave them in the stock assist levels. And then I also have this bike set up as a Class 1 e-bike, so that means the max speed is 20 miles per hour. I'm riding a Levo 4 Pro build. This bike weighs around 53 pounds, and then I myself weigh 180 pounds. All right, for this first test, I'm calling this the Afterwork Special. So I know that a lot of mountain bikers really like e-bikes because they can go out and do their regular weekday ride in a shorter period of time, and then with that time saved, you usually can go out and do more laps. To replicate this phenomenon, as well as gather some data on how different assist levels drain the battery, I've got a control loop that I'm gonna do twice in each assist mode. I'm gonna stay at a similar watt range to control my rider input, and then I'm also gonna do 2 laps in auto mode. Auto mode basically adjusts motor power based on rider input, motor signals, and bike speed to then apply the optimal assist level. All right, time to go do a bunch of loops, and then I'll come back and chat about how my time and battery consumption compared in each assist mode. Here we go. I'm having to really watch my watts to not just be blowing up. All right, I'm approaching the descent on my first loop in Eco. Finishing off my go in Eco mode. All right, we are in trail mode. Oh yeah, there's the power I was looking for in Eco. The most noticeable thing from Eco to trail mode is that when the pitch changes on this trail, like right here, that's punchy for that split second, the motor really pulls me through, and I'm not having to expel nearly as much energy for those few pedal strokes. But I would guess my average rider input is going to be lower in trail and turbo, just because it's hard for me to actually get going fast enough on this trail. Coming at the end of my trail mode 2-lap test. Time for another go. This time we're doing turbo mode. It feels like I'm hauling in turbo mode. I'm having a brake going uphill. Here goes the last test. We're doing auto mode. I'm really curious to see where this slots between the other preset modes. Alrighty, that was more tiring than I expected. I would say the results were predictable, but that was kind of the point of this exercise, was to see if what you'd expect is actually true when you go out and do it on real trails. So starting with battery consumption, Eco used 13%, Trail used 18%, Turbo was 24%, and Auto was 23%. Eco was the slowest at almost 32 minutes. Then it was Trail at just over 25 minutes, Turbo 23.5 minutes, and Auto slipped in between Trail and Turbo at 24 minutes and 36 seconds. Eco was the slowest at 11.3 miles per hour, then it was Trail at 14 miles per hour, then Auto at 14.7, and then Turbo at 15.3. So I did my first 2 laps in Eco, and my adjusted average wattage was 180 watts. So that's kind of what I was going for from then on. Trail, I was 169 watts, turbo was 161, and then auto I was 166. What I found is I was trying to sustain a similar wattage that I did in Eco, but it was harder to just even get to that in those higher assist modes, which makes sense because when you look at the average motor watts, Eco was 202 watts, then Trail was 336, Turbo was 450, and Auto was 383. So as I was trying harder, so was the motor, which was making up some of that difference and not allowing me to put in as much effort. That was a 24-mile ride with 5,400 feet of climbing as well. So it's a reason why I'm tired. I'd say one thing that's kind of interesting looking at all of these numbers is that new auto mode, I would say fits kind of where I would expect, which is between Trail and Turbo when you're looking at most metrics. At least from doing this test, you know, with 23% battery use versus 24 with Turbo, it wasn't that much more efficient, but in a lot of the other stats, it's, you know, you're a little bit faster than Trail, you know, not as fast as Turbo. I'm not necessarily sure if I would use that all the time. I guess if you're looking to just kind of stick it in a mode and not to think about it, that'd be nice. I think I might still trend towards Trail for that. You know, with any e-bike system, you can adjust the assist profiles within the app. Going in and tuning to kind of your preferences, I think is a really good way to get more out of your bike. Levo 4, as an example, in these stock settings, Eco only gives you basically 35% of the motor's ability, where Trail and Turbo, you can get that full 100% of assistance. It just changes how much you have to put in to reach that level of assistance. I would definitely move Eco up to make it more usable. As it is in the stock setting, I really don't know when I would ever use it. It's a lot more effort. It makes your ride take a lot longer, and outside of like doing a backcountry ride, there's very rarely am I fully focused on trying to conserve battery. So yeah, it's pretty neat. I think this was worth doing. I'm gonna take this 450 up into the foothills. Day 2, got another test going. We're calling this one Going the Distance. So yesterday we saw how much each mode drains the battery. Today, I just want to see how far I can go on a full battery with the range extender. Pretty simple. So how I'm choosing to treat this ride is trying to stay in Eco as much as I can, because I do want to see what kind of range I can get on this bike. But for some of the little punchy bits like right in here, I'm going up the Trail. Like, I'm not trying to blow myself out. I have that, you know, that power at my disposal. I might as well use it. I'm just sticking with auto mode for all these punchy bits. Now knowing that it's kind of between Trail and Turbo, I don't really feel much of a difference going to Turbo, and if this conserves a little bit more battery, why not? Getting closer to the tree line over there. Part 1 of this ride done. Up onto the Ridge Road, which takes me up to the ski resort. 59% on the main battery and 61% on the range extender. Hour 27 moving time, 11.66 miles, just over 4,000 feet of climbing. That's where we're at. All right, we just hit 2 hours of moving time, and at the same time I hit 19 miles, 46% on the main battery and 49 in the range extender. Well, I definitely miscalculated on how far away getting to the summit was. I don't know if you can see that, but we're getting closer. Entering the back side of the ski resort now. We're down to 29%, 32 in the range extender. I'm starting to get some range anxiety right now. Just past 7,400 feet of climbing. Oh, and we're close. Freaking getting up here. I'm honestly getting a little bit tired. Holy cow. All right, made it to the summit. We're at 8,193 feet climbed, 2 hours and 56 minutes of moving time. And then we are 26.3 miles in. And then we've got 23% left in the main battery and 21% left in the range extender. So it's gonna be interesting to see if I can make it back without fully going into the zeros here. Pretty long way back down. And we are off. Little ups on this ridge that are kind of gonna be worried. All right, I'm on my long traverse. 18% in the main battery and 20 in the range extender. My plans for doing a ride in all the modes to make it realistic is got a little bit out the window on the back half of this ride because I am fully conserving battery to try and make it back. You know, that guy's got the right idea. Whew. I made it back to the top of the descent, and I've still got 7% in the main battery, 9% in the range extender. We might actually get over 10,000 feet of climbing. We're just at about 9,700 feet. We're at 39.4 miles, and we're at almost 4 hours of ride time, which is pretty dang impressive. Now's the fun part. Looking forward to the descent. This should be good. All right, I'm back in the foothills. We're down to 6 in the main battery, 8 in the range extender. All right, that's the last of the climbing. With 2% and 4%. Not too shabby. All right, so I did a little bit of extra credit, and I've got, as I was talking, we went from 1% to nothing. That's it. Luckily, I'm on my way to the very bottom. Go end this ride and see what the total stats were. Dang, my total time was just under 7 hours. Battery used 100%. Okay, I'm gonna start from the top and run through the stats of the battery burner ride I just went for. Total distance was 47.54 miles. Moving time was 4 hours and 30 minutes. My elevation gain was 10,686 feet. Average speed, 10.6 miles per hour. Adjusted rider power was 149 watts. And then average motor power was 223 watts. I went out and did the thing. I drained both batteries. That's what the numbers were. So Specialized's app very conveniently breaks down how much time you spent in each assist mode. So I spent the most time in eco, which is funny based on what I had said yesterday after doing the 2 laps in eco and kind of saying it was maybe a little bit pointless or I wouldn't use it. But as you heard in my GoPros, you know, as I got closer to the top, I started to get that range anxiety and I'm like, I need to stay in eco. And I'm glad I did because I pretty much needed all of that battery capacity to get back down to the bottom with how much climbing there was on that descent. So I spent the most time in eco, 68%. After that was trail, then it was auto, and then it was turbo. One little asterisk is I rode the bike off some and I had 7% of my ride time was with the motor not on. However, most of that time was when I was descending. So that range anxiety started to get to me. I had a few moments where it was flat and I'm like, I'm just gonna turn it off. I can just cruise and pedal here, it's not a big deal. And then when it would go back down, I didn't put it back in a mode. And as far as the way I interpret this, off and the percent of time I spent in that is just across the board. So even though I was coasting for a lot of time, it was off, it added that in here. So take that as you will. What's probably the most interesting from this is looking at Specialized's claimed ranges that you can get with a full battery, and a range extender. So they say that if you were to go out and ride in just eco alone, you're looking at 4.5 hours, 36 miles, just over 9,000 feet of climbing. Each higher mode from there goes to less time, less range, all that stuff. It's surprising to me that I was able to put up bigger numbers than what Specializes claims. I think that's always better, honestly, if you can do more than what a brand says their bike's capable of. Really doing this was purely for exercise, and personally, I've never done it. I'm not sure if Vital's really ever put out something like this, just getting a bike and going and riding it and seeing what the numbers actually are. I think range is talked about almost hypothetically sometimes. I would love for people to leave comments on this video with what bike do you own if you do have an e-bike, what motor system is in it, and what battery capacity does it have, and what kind of range are you getting when you go out for a ride and you're starting at 100% going all the way down to 0. All right, that's the end of this battery capacity testing. It's time for me to go get a meal. I'm tired, but for more mountain bike news, more e-bike news and reviews, you can head to vitalmtb.com. Thanks for watching.